Hello and welcome. If this is your first time here, I'm Garth Allen. This is Racing News Now, and we're joined today live on location from Victory Lane at Watkins Glen, PR director for the ARCA series, Charlie Krall. Charlie, how's it going today?
Garth, it is a beautiful day here. We're sitting like directly across from the start finish line here at the Glen. We're overlooking Victory Lane. I'm looking off into the distance, and I can just see miles and miles of beautiful New York mountains. It's just I am so happy to be back here. It's the first time I've been here personally for a race in 21 years. It's the first time ARCA has been here in 20 years. And I'm just ecstatic. It's one of my absolute favorite racetracks in the world, and to be back here, it's a very special weekend for me for sure.
And you're making me wish I could be there. I hope you guys keep it on the schedule next year so I can go next year.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's believe it or not, it's been a long time coming. You know, we've been talking to the folks at the Glen for 8, 9, 10 years now, just trying to figure out a way that, we can work it into our schedule and they can work it into their schedule. And of course, last year, we were supposed to be here, and then COVID struck, and, everything was, kind of thrown for a loop. But, thankfully everybody was able to get it put back together for 2021. And just had a great media luncheon here in town with Michael Printup, president of the racetrack. Richard Petty was there, Thad Moffitt was there, Andy Jankowiak was there, and a handful of members of the local media. Was just a great way to start the weekend. And man, I'm telling you what, we've got a great entry list for this race. It's perhaps going to be one of the best races we have all season long.
It's seeming like it. So, I mean, you know everything that's been going on this week. You know the video yesterday, the Eric Estep video before that. Before we get into anything specific, just to start here, is there anything you'd like to say to respond to anything that Eric said, that I said, or anybody else has said over the past few days?
Well, first and foremost, Garth, thank you for allowing me to come on here and do this. Listen, we live in a new world where anybody can comment on anything, and that's great. That's the great thing about social media and every phone having a camera, and it's great. Everybody has an opinion and everybody can share it. I think what's disappointed me over the course of the last several days is, have your opinions. That's great, but why not back it up with some actual facts from the sanctioning body? Garth, I'll give you a lot of credit. So I'm gonna throw you in that YouTube commenter bucket.
Okay.
But I see you at the racetrack 10, 15 times a year. You come here, you talk to these people, you were around.
Yep.
I'll give you a ton of credit. And I am a text or a phone call away, and you will always get an answer from me.
Yep.
You don't come out and just blanket say, the ARCA Menard series doesn't have a place in the American motorsports landscape. I hear that from someone who quite frankly hasn't ever been in our garage area and hasn't ever reached out to me for comment. And yeah, it's a little bit upsetting because, if you want to have a discussion, I hope everybody who has had a chance to work with me while I've been in this position understands that, yeah, I am only a phone call away, and I'm happy to talk about it. Even when it's not great, you'll get an answer from us. And, Garth, you and I have talked about this for a couple of years. Like, there are some issues in our series that, it's like sitting next to a big pink elephant right here and then trying to ignore it. Yeah, we're aware, man. We know what it looks like to have a race with 18 or 19 cars, especially when that race had 40 cars in it 8 years ago. Yeah, we know. You weren't telling us anything we don't know. We're trying to fix it. We'd love to fix it. We'd love to fix it tomorrow. But unfortunately, it takes a lot of hard work to get it done. And we're engaged in that hard work. But to just to call our series, some derogatory names, and I'm not going to reuse the term that was used. It's frustrating to hear that from someone who doesn't have any skin in the game. It's frustrating to hear from someone who doesn't come to the races. It's frustrating to hear it from someone who doesn't reach out for comment. Like, if you want to have a discussion over the ARCA Menard series, give me a call. I'm here. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to you. But that's the difference between, and again, I probably should take you out of that commentator bucket, Garth, because you do the work. You do the journalistic work to be here. There's a difference between journalists and commentators. A journalist does the work, gathers the information, processes the information, and then reports the information. And you're allowed to editorialize. Garth, that you and I have some differing opinions. I'm still your friend. I'm still going to talk to you. You're still welcome to come to our races. You're allowed to have whatever opinion you want, but I certainly appreciate the fact that you at least come looking for the facts, and you want to give us the opportunity to give you from our perspective. Look, just because it's a fact doesn't mean that you can only see it from one perspective. But yeah, to just blanket say, ARCA has no place in the American landscape because, you watched some K&N West races 2 years ago and Haley Deegan pulled a bump and run twice on the last lap, and you felt like, come on. I mean, that's communicators, professional communicators use words with purpose. And I thought that was, there's no other way to say it. I thought it was very sloppy, and it was very hurtful. And there are so many hundreds of people who make their living in this series that's detrimental to, and that's unfair. All right, I'm done. All right, thanks, Garth. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Okay, so building off of that, you mentioned it a little bit briefly in the last answer, but broadly, how do you feel? I know I saw a few comments, or at least one comment on the video yesterday, about it's a shame that ARCA doesn't get a lot of publicity, and when it does, it's for something negative like this. Do you feel that this is one of those situations where any publicity is good publicity, or is this something else?
That's a really good question, Garth, and thanks for asking it. Mm-hmm. We are here at Watkins Glen, and we're a part of a 4-race weekend here. We are the opening act of the weekend, and we're here on Friday by ourselves. Trucks and Xfinity are here on Saturday, and Cup is on Sunday. We scrape for every bit of attention we can get on a weekend like this. We really do. We want as much spotlight on our teams and our drivers and our sponsors and our series sponsors as we can possibly get. And it's literally like going to hand-to-hand combat sometimes to try to make that happen. But that said, not all attention is good attention. And when someone, who quite frankly has a pretty big reach and a lot of people listen to, when someone, irresponsibly says, your series is, and uses that detrimental term that I'm not going to say because I don't agree with it, but when they describe it as such, it's hurtful. There's a lot of people here who make their living in this series, hundreds of people. There are the people that I work with day to day who have made this their life's work. My boss, Ron Drager, this is what his grandparents started this 69 years ago. To say that it doesn't have a place is, it's like an insult to their memory. It's an insult to the people who have spent, so much time and effort to get it to this point. And, it's, again, not to say that there aren't things that we could do better or we could fix or that need to be improved. We know that we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We're working hard to get there every day, just like everybody should. No one's perfect. But yeah, just to sit there and you watch one race and you make all these comments and then you say, well, it's because Haley Deegan drove rough a couple of years ago, so I'm painting everybody with that broad brush. Well, first and foremost, Haley Deegan's got a ton of fans who love watching her drive that way. And secondly, again, it's, we're not the ones holding the steering wheel. We don't press the brake. We don't press the gas pedal. We're not the ones doing the driving. I would much rather those drivers, made those mistakes where the stakes weren't quite so high, the spotlight not quite so bright, rather than them, making that mistake at a place like Bristol or Daytona when, quite frankly, the eyes of the world are watching you.
So to build on that a little bit, another comment that I saw yesterday was that they said ARCA needs to be stricter, and I'm guessing in terms of rules enforcement and penalties, and I'm going to guess that stems from the Taylor Gray incident at Winchester. What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm not in the competition department. I don't level penalties. I don't even sit on in the discussions of what those penalties may be, could be, or will be. I have no idea. What I do know is that, when something like this happens, it gets reviewed very, very seriously. We're not Cup. Our teams don't have unlimited budgets. Even the well-funded teams don't have unlimited budgets to be here. So when someone's car is damaged in something that we perceive to be an intentional act, we're going to have something to say about it. I don't sit on those meetings. I don't know, where that sliding scale is. Was this intentional? Was it accidental? I don't know. I wasn't in those meetings. But again, this is a place where, we really do have to fight to get people to come to race with us at this point. We're coming out of a global pandemic, and, more so than any other level of motorsports, this level has been hit pretty hard. We have a lot of blue collar people that come and race with us, and for us to sit there and tell, a well-funded car, not to be here, I mean, that's just taken away from the fans in the stands. So, and that goes for anybody, not just for the drivers that were involved in the incident over the weekend. I mean, if there's a technical violation, there's a reason why we don't sit people out. We want you to be here. We need you to be here. It's important to us that you're here. But, we do have rules. We do enforce those rules. I mean, whether or not, the people at home agree with how we enforce. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, Garth.
Right. So, and that I think leads well into the car count discussion. I know we've had that discussion a lot now, and actually that was the first thing you texted me yesterday when you saw this video, was how I had talked about that there was probably only 5 to 8 competitive cars in this race, and I'll admit I was wrong on that, because you texted me the full list of competitive cars, and it was a lot more than 5 to 8.
Yeah.
And car counts have been up this year, especially compared to what they were last year in the height of COVID. So we are moving back in the right direction, and Watkins Glen this weekend is definitely a testament to that, with 30 cars on the entry list. How much do you see that continuing to grow going into the future? Obviously 30, we can't expect 30 at most races going forward, but how much do you continue to see this growing?
Man, it would be great to get back to those, the heyday of the late 90s and early 2000s, where we had 60 cars every week, man.
Yeah.
It would be great. I see it continuing to trend in the right direction, Garth. I really do. We're here at Watkins Glen, where there's going to be a Cup race on Sunday. Every one of those Cup cars will be obsolete next year. And then we're going to go to Michigan here in a couple of weeks, and every one of those Cup cars is going to be obsolete. Then we're going to go to Bristol after that, and every one of those Cup cars is going to be obsolete. And we are really working hard on trying to find a way to get all of that equipment to filter down to this level. Just like when the Gen 4 cars were cycled out, that's when we really had a big bump in car count, was when that equipment changed over. We're hearing a lot of really great things from a lot of teams. A lot of people have expressed an interest at coming and competing at this level. I got to tell you, a guy like Andy Jankowiak has raced modifieds here in New York State for a long time, and he is as pumped about coming and racing here at Watkins Glen in the ARCA race as he has ever been to race anything ever. And that's great to see. Greg Van Alst, another guy who finished second last week at Winchester, is just thrilled to be able to come and race at a place like Daytona and Talladega and Michigan, and to do so without driving himself into bankruptcy. There's a lot of really great competitors out there that we would love to see step into this level, and hopefully there's going to be enough equipment available to make that happen here in the next couple of years. Don't ever think that we aren't concerned about it, Garth. I mean, we go to a place like our home race at Toledo Speedway, and we have 15 or 16 cars, and it's, hey, we want to go out and we're going to put on the best race that we can. Absolutely. But we know that hey, the fans want to come out here and watch a race with more than 16 cars, and we're working on it. We really, really are. But I'll tell you what, we've had some races with 16 cars. They've been pretty darn entertaining.
Yeah.
The cars that are here really race hard, and they put on a good show. To get hung up on that number, it's like you're not seeing the forest for the trees here on some of these things. It's an issue, and we would like to fix that issue, but it doesn't mean that the product that we're putting out is necessarily unworthy. I've been pretty darn entertained by these races the past couple of years.
Yeah. All right. So Eric Estep himself actually commented on the video yesterday, and with kind of his rebuttal to all of this, and I want to get your thoughts on this. We're going to break it into two parts here. So the first part, he said, this is mostly a fair video. I'll admit that some of my criticism of the over-aggressive racing in ARCA also comes from watching the ARCA/K&N East, and especially the West Series the last couple of years as well, watching Deegan and Kraus run over each other in the West Series, Hyman Gibbs trading blows at several short tracks this year, etc. But I'll admit that I was a bit too dramatic in some of my descriptions. Your thoughts on that?
So I learned this lesson from Dave Moody, of all people. Dave, as many people know, it's a turn announcer for MRN Radio and spends 3 hours a day talking to people on Sirius XM radio. And, Dave told me years ago, he says, I'm a professional communicator. I say the words that I say with purpose, and I say the words that I say with a meaning. And, if you're going to initially have that reaction to that race, okay. I mean, yeah, I see lots of things that I initially react to one way and then think about it for a little while and say, well, okay, so that's not really how it happened. But I don't think about it, hop in front of my camera, record a video, then press publish, and then say, well, yeah, I may have overreacted. Professional communicators, and if you want to be considered to be in that group, if you want to be in the same sentence with someone like Dave Moody, well, then you should probably have that same type of professional integrity that Dave has, even if you are just, quote, a YouTube commentator. I mean, again, there are people here who make a living in this series. There are people, I mean, we have sponsors who see that type of stuff, and why would they want to be affiliated with something that has a quote negative well, they don't want to be associated with anything that's negative. So yeah, I'm gonna get my gander up, and I'm gonna defend the series to the best of my ability. It's just again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, Garth. I just wish that people would be a little more thoughtful before they share it and then, you know, really tear down everything that we've been trying to do here for the last 68 years.
Well, and to build on that, as we move into the second part of his comment, the actual first sentence he said in that video was ARCA is useless now.
Right.
And
I
then,
heard it.
Yeah. And then in the comment, he goes, I also want to make it clear that I don't believe ARCA is completely useless. I don't think it's nearly as useful to up and coming drivers as it was even 5 or 6 years ago, but it can still occupy an important spot on the development ladder.
Okay, so let's talk about our champions for the last 5 years, dating back to Chase Briscoe in 2016. Who was champion in 2017? Where's he right now? Where's he right now? He's coaching drivers and helping them create, you know, their own career. Who was champion in 2018? Sheldon Creed. What'd he do last year?
Won the truck championship.
Right. Who was the champion in 2019? Christian Eckes.
Yep.
What's he doing? What's he doing right now?
Driving in trucks.
Right. Who was champion last year? Brett Holmes. Yep. Yeah, he's trying to build himself into a truck ride as well.
Mm-hmm.
I did the math. You know, I've got a spreadsheet and I could share it with you. I'd love to share it with you, Garth. Of the 114 drivers that competed in NASCAR National Touring Series races at Daytona in February on the oval, 99 of them have competed in the ARCA Menard Series platform, whether that's ARCA Menard Series East or West. And over 70 of them have won races here. They account for something like 500 cup wins, 7 championships. To say that we don't play a role statistically is just blown out of the water. It's useless, blown out of the water just by that spreadsheet alone. Of the 11 drivers who, or I think the 15 drivers, I'm sorry, who did not compete at this level, 1 career cup win, 0 championships, 5 Xfinity wins, 0 championships. You know, again, this does play a very integral role. And hey, if you don't choose to race here, it's not like we're wishing you bad luck. We want everybody to succeed. We want you to come and race here, but if you don't, hey, good luck to you. But to sit there and say that this series is useless now because, you know, 2 drivers ran into each other in a race at a short track, that happens every week. You know, I mean, if 2 drivers run into each other going into turn 1 here on lap 41, do you think the fans here aren't going to be making any noise? That's what they want. That's what they want to see.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just, look, I get clickbait as much as anybody. I've said a bunch of things on Twitter and social media just to get the attention. I know how it works. It worked. He's getting the attention, and people are talking about him, and I'm talking about. This is the 3rd different video I've done, 3rd interview I've done talking about him. He's got exactly what he wanted. I've debated whether or not I should do that, but it's something I'm passionate enough about that I feel like I do. I need to stick up for the people that I work with.
So to end off here, moving a little bit away from that drama, after we confirmed that we were doing this yesterday, I pinned a comment on the video and asked if anybody had any questions for you regarding ARCA specifically.
Wonderful.
And yeah, so one of them we got was, do you have a plan on bringing back live pit stops for main ARCA and potentially East and West as well?
So we would really like to be able to do that. When we go to a place like Berlin or Toledo or Salem, and that is really the only opportunity that those fans have to get to see this type of racing live and in person, to not have a live pit stop element it's not a selling point, to be honest. We really do. We really take that very seriously. We would love to be able to reintroduce that, but budgetarily right now, it's just our teams are struggling just to get here from week to week, and to be able to allow them to do the pit stops in a controlled manner without a specialized pit crew. It's more of a lifeline to our teams right now, just so they don't have to go out and spend an unspeakable amount of money to bring some people up here to do pit stops that, quite frankly, they're only going to be in action for 45 seconds. We really do just want to help those race teams and their budgets, and that's where we're at where we're at. But we are counting down until we can get back to doing those live pit stops. Don't know exactly when that's going to be, but I know we definitely would like to get back to it.
Well, and I know East and West specifically, they weren't even doing live pit stops before COVID and all the cost cutting, were they?
I don't. So I got to tell you, I got to make a small confession. I wasn't too familiar with the East and the West series prior to ARCA becoming the sanctioning body. I'd watched a handful of races over the years, but never really watched a whole lot. The races that I did watch, they did not have live pit stops.
Yeah.
So I know that there were places like here at Watkins Glen where they did. I think for where we're at right now with those two series, I think we could just assume that they're probably going to stay on the break format for now. But again, we would like to get back to where we were pre-COVID. It's just a matter of the economy is turning around a little bit, and these race teams having enough funding to come out and do it the right way.
So the other question we got was, in your opinion, what is the craziest ARCA moment ever that nobody talks about?
Oh boy, that's a good one, because there's been a lot.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I've seen so many crazy moments in all levels of racing over the years. And so many of them have been here in the ARCA series that just they either were just like, wow, I can't believe what I just saw, or they kind of made you laugh, or I can remember a time where Brian Silas backed into the wall in turn 1 at Toledo, and he came to a stop right in front of me, and he climbed out of the car and left the car in neutral, and as soon as he got out, the car rolled down the hill and hit the wall on the inside of the racetrack. That was one of those I can't believe I just saw that moments. The Ricky Stenhouse, Scott Speed deal at Toledo as well. That was pretty crazy. There have been a lot. There really have been. And the great thing about it is, Garth, is we're adding to that record book all the time.
Yeah, definitely are. But I think that's all I got for you today, Charlie. So thank you for coming on and continuing this discussion here and giving your side of things here.
Well, Garth, first and foremost, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you asking me questions and allowing me to answer them. Again, I know you have opinions, and while I may try to dissuade you from having them from time to time, I certainly don't begrudge them. You're a good dude. I always appreciate you coming to our races and having you at the racetrack, and just appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come out here and talk, and at least try to get our side out there a little bit. I just, we're just here putting on car races, man. There's the negative aura that's out there. We don't feel that. We're here having a good time, and we want everybody else here to have a good time. And, we want everybody to come out to the racetrack and have a smile when they're leaving.
Well, hopefully all of this builds into a fantastic Watkins Glen race tomorrow that we'll be talking about for years, and we won't have to talk about this anymore after tomorrow. How
about that last Watkins? We're going to have a little ways to go to top that last one, but
that's true.
We're gonna give it a try tomorrow. We'll see how it works out.
All right. Well, that was Charlie Krall, if I can say your name right, PR director for the ARCA Menard series.